we will transition to the last bit of our conversation into some potential advocacy opportunities. And these are the sort of very specifics are, around like what's happening here in Connecticut, or a couple ways to plug in Connecticut. But they represent a couple needs that are worth like checking if they make sense in your, if they're taking place in your state, if you're outside of Connecticut. And if they're not, I sort of guarantee that there are some folks doing some really important organizing in your state around them. So Rachel?
Great. So so we did want to end, with a call to action. And in a moment, I'm going to try to share my screen, but in case that doesn't work, I'm just going to say a word first. So these are two campaigns that are being led by an organization called Connecticut Students for a Dream. And the first one is calling on the governor of Connecticut, Governor Lamont, to expand Husky health insurance coverage to all residents, regardless of immigration status. So that's particularly important, during this pandemic. And then the second campaign is also directed at the governor and legislators to increase funding for COVID relief, financial relief for undocumented immigrants. So, the stimulus checks and unemployment, the funding that has been provided so far doesn't reach a lot of immigrants, right? And so, particularly undocumented immigrants. We are joining calls to really increase state funding for undocumented immigrants during this time. So I'm going to try to share my screen really quick to show you some of these, the websites where you can go and easily send messages and get more information about these campaigns. And then, of course, you can also, directly email your legislators or the governor, but just a moment. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So this is one of the platforms to send a letter, really encouraging Governor Lamont to really expand coverage. And then the other, I'll show you. Let's see. Okay. Can't switch tabs, but oh, maybe there I can. So the other is, again, about real substantial relief that will actually reach people that are in need of support right now. And also in our small group, Ruby was talking about some other resources that might be kind of more specific to different areas, particularly the what's needed in the borderlands. So we'll try to pass out that information as well in a follow-up. All right.
All right. Thanks for that, Rachel. So we reached like the end of the formal program, but I joked with Milton earlier about if he needed like a glass of water or anything like that to sort of give that like real presentation feel. But I was half joking. So, much like at the end of a sort of pre-COVID in-person presentation. You kind of kick about for a few moments and have some informal conversation. And Milton was generous enough to sort of to stay back with us an extra 10 minutes, if there are any sort of questions or comments that folks wanted to make as a larger group, or pick his brain about his experience a little bit more. But if you can't stick around for the extra 10 minutes, I want to thank you again for joining us this evening. And I certainly want to thank my dear brother, Dr. Milton Bravo, PhD. And I want to invite you to the sort of follow-up to this conversation. This is second in our series of public theology conversations. We'll be joined by Olga Segura, who is the opinions editor at National Catholic Reporter and the author of the forthcoming book, Birth of a Movement, Black Lives Matter in the Catholic Church. We'll be sort of talking about the ideas in that book. And like tonight, we sort of shared a couple podcast episodes as like a kind of primary reference point. We have an article that she wrote for America magazine last year on what Black Lives Matter can teach the church about justice. And so that'll kind of be like the sort of world of ideas we'll be talking about as a group. And that's next Tuesday, same time.